How is it going, all my tacticians, and welcome to another tactical analysis. Well, not really a tactical analysis, but it is an analysis of how to deal with probably one of the biggest questions most trainers, especially those less skilled trainers, have, especially when asking me, how do they deal with legendary Pokemon? It seems like no matter what they do, no matter how hard they try, they can just never get around these legendary spamming trainers. So, first of all, this is nothing against those people who use legendaries. I myself use legendaries, as you can see on the screen. There's a Meloetta on my team, but to be honest, it was part of a theme team, so come on, cut a Reshiram some break here. He was running with the theme team. He had to put someone on the team. Yeah, so he put a Murkrow. So that's not my fault. That's right. That's not my fault. Sid wanted to be on the team, and so he's now on the team. But in any case, what do I do, first of all, with this opposing team? I mean, look at what I've got to deal with. A Lunala, a Marshadow, a Garchomp, a Mimikyu, a Primal Groudon, and a Volcanion. All these Pokemon are considered to be super powerful, super dangerous. I myself talked about how powerful and nearly unstoppable Garchomp can be when properly prepared and even assisted even a little bit. Well, you're about to see how I myself deal with legendary Pokemon. And the first step is, don't concern yourself with legendary Pokemon. I mean, only think about them, in the back of your mind. Remember that you may come across legendary Pokemon, but overall, focus on your team. So that's going to be the first step dealing with legendary Pokemon. Second of all, look at the cute little Reshiram that Kirby fan drew for me. So I love what you did for the overlay. Love. But in any case, we're going to go into this battle, and I'm going to show you precisely what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start this battle off with Sid and Tucker. And Jacob, big shout out to Jacob for, using this team against me, is going to lead off with his Marshadow and Lunala. Now, I'm going to go into Flatter. You'll see why. Now, I take a big hit to Sid here, but I'm alright with that because he's got the Focus Sash. I'm more than willing to sacrifice one of my Pokemon if it means I can deal with a very serious threat on my opponent's side of the field. So I've got my shout out here, Tucker, and he's gonna go for the Chatter. This, combined with the +1 I gave Tucker, is just enough to, bring the Marshadow into the red. Not enough to finish it off, but there is a strategy why I did that. And you're about to see why. So that was the big hit for my team. We knocked out the Marshadow. It cost me Sid, but thanks to my team's strategy, Tucker now has a +1 in his special attack, and he's confused. He also has the Tangled Feet ability, which means his evasion is increased by 50%. So this is going to cause a little bit of havoc for my opponent. So now the Lunala is confused, and now I've got the weakness policy activated for my, for John, my left. So here comes the Primal Groudon. Most people would consider Primal Groudon to be the most dangerous of all Pokemon. It's pretty much got a tier of its own alongside Mega Rayquaza. But I don't fear Primal Groudon. It may be dangerous, but as you're about to see, Yep, as you can see, even the mightiest of Pokemon can be brought down. Now Tucker's gonna take a side shock here. Barely survives that. Just enough to get another Chatter off. And there goes the Groudon. So I'm still not looking good for my two Pokemon up there. But we brought down 2 Pokemon, both of them very powerful legendaries. Out comes another Ice Shard from John. Lunala is going to be snapping out of its confusion and going into a Moonblast, but I still have one of my items, and it's going to be that Bright Powder. And out comes the Sleep. So now out comes Sing. Sing is going to put the Mimikyu to sleep, so that's going to buy me a few turns. Going to buy me some time. Not a lot of time, but it's going to be some time. So Ice Shard is going to come out, taking down the Volcanion. Are not going to do very much damage, but the Chatter is now going to come out once again, and it's going to break the Mimikyu's, ability. As well as cause confusion. So this is my strategy. This is why I say don't focus on what the opponent is going to do. Focus only on what you're going to do. See, I'm not concerning myself that my opponent is setting up a Swords Dance in my face, or that he switched into a Volcanion. I'm focusing on what my overall strategy is. I have a strategy and I have to play it out correctly. Now that's going to be the end of Tucker, one of my strongest birds on this team. In fact, he's the strongest bird on the team, not counting Sid, because Sid doesn't exactly go on the offense very much. But out comes my Meloetta now. So once again, going into my strategy, because I still have my weakness policy activated on John, my Lapras, he's able to do these priority attacks. Now out comes the Relic Song from my Meloetta. The objective of this Relic Song was not to deal the damage, but to hopefully get, some. What am I trying to say? Trying to get that Pokemon to fall asleep. Unfortunately for my trouble, Meloetta gets burned. So all in all, not the greatest turn for me there, but remember, this was against a team that originally had 4 legendaries, plus a Mimikyu, and now a Garchomp. So now out comes the Mega Garchomp, revealing the Mega Pokemon. And I have only one thing to say to that. So now that is the end of my Lapras John. But Meloetta has accomplished what she needed to do. Now it's down to the Volcanion, and can it sweep 4 of my Pokemon in 3 turns? The answer to that is no. So out comes Kaylani now. Now comes the fun part. Simply outlasting the Volcanion. So I swap Meloetta out and send in a Lucio. Now that really, really hurt because of that critical hit, but I get the sing off. Ignore that, because I'm not feeling the greatest right now. Had a sore throat last night, but we're gonna go back into this battle, and once again, this is why you don't fear legendary Pokemon, especially those from GTS giveaways. Now, I'm almost confident that most people's legendary Pokemon, especially the shiny varieties, all come from the GTS giveaway livestream. So out comes my Hyper Beam. Now, I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to go for the Hyper Beam, but I felt I wanted to. I'm trying to defeat my opponent. And the best way to do that is simply to keep hammering my opponent down. Give them no options. So now that we've finally brought down the Volcanion, it's the last turn. I lose my Primarina Kaylani, but it's alright because this is the final turn. Volcanion cannot last any longer. The Perish Song takes effect and victory goes to me. So, how did I beat that team? By all rights, I should have lost that. I was facing off against 4 legendary Pokemon. 2 of them being, mythic, or one of them being mythical. 2 of them being very powerful legendaries. One of them was the Primal Groudon. Of course, we can't forget the Marshadow. Actually, that makes 2 mythical legendaries. We also had a Mega Garchomp and a Mimikyu. How did I do that? Simple. Strategy and tactics. I did not concern myself with what my opponent was going to run. I only concerned myself with my own team. And when the battle begins, that's when I concern myself with what my opponent is going to do. So, the strategy for the opening phase was obviously Sid using Flatter onto Tucker, my Chatot. Activating the Tangled Feet so that he can, evade attacks more effectively. On top of the Bright Powder he's already got to make himself even more evasive. It's very difficult to hit a Chatot when it's got all those abilities stacked up together. Then you got my weakness policy, Lapras. Obviously the weakness policy is just to deal damage, but the priority move coming from the Ice Shard was what really brought the damage home for me. Then we've got my Perish Song, Meloetta. And her role is basically to put my opponents to sleep and then activate the Perish Song so that if anything stays on the field longer than 3 turns, it's going to go down. Forcing either swaps or at the very least, and in this case, ending the battle to ensure that I won. Then you got a Lucio for basically the same thing, activating Sing and then dealing damage with, his pixelated Hyper Beam, because I don't have Hyper Voice on it. Yeah, I don't have Hyper Voice on a Lucio, but hey, he does enough damage. He does very well. And finally, Kaylani for the Sing and basic damage whatsoever. That is the whole strategy behind this singing themed team. It's very powerful. It, can be stopped easily, but at the same time, when it's performed properly, it's very difficult to stop. Even for these legendary Pokemon. And another thing about legendary Pokemon, why you shouldn't fear legendaries, that's what I always say, don't fear legendaries, they're only legendary Pokemon, they're just stats. The reason why is because most people get their legendary Pokemon, unless they soft reset for them themselves, they get them from their GTS giveaways, and those legendary Pokemon are quote unquote battle ready, etc, etc. And most people don't change battle-ready Pokemon, because, aka, they're battle-ready. That's their whole point. They're battle-ready, you can just slap them on a team, they're ready to go. They don't strategize with those Pokemon, they just throw them onto a team, see if they can win with them. That's not how you do it. Your team needs to synergize together. I say this constantly. Your team must work together. Otherwise, they're not gonna do anything. Sure, I was facing down 6 really powerful Pokemon, but they weren't coordinating their strategy together. Lunala was just going for damage. Marshadow was just trying to punch me. The Mimikyu was trying to set up. The the Groudon was just, trying to deal damage with Eruption, it wasn't really coordinating. They were just doing what legendaries do, and that's deal damage. And against a team that's prepared for something like that, that doesn't mind taking a hit or two, or is prepared to deal damage in return, legendary Pokemon just don't stand up. So that's going to be my, video. That's how I deal with legendaries. Once again, just work together. Just make your team work together. Focus only on your strategy. Don't fear legendary Pokemon at all. Wait until the battle begins, then you can start panicking all you want. But once you start to see that legendary Pokemon aren't exactly scary, then that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I thank you all for watching, especially you, Jacob, out there. Thank you for the battle. I'm sorry I had to use your team as an example, but this was really something that was, on my head for a while now. So I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.